Good evening everyone, and welcome to your first class in Quantum World. One of my favourite things to talk about and one of my favourite worlds to explore in terms of understanding how things work and getting, I guess, some shape and form around the mystery of coaching and of connection and all of that stuff. Now, I've just had a message from someone saying that they can't hear me. Can everyone else hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay, I'm just going to write a message back to this person. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm just typing for 1 second. Okay. All right, no problem. So hello everyone and welcome. Nice to have you here. All right, let's delve into Quantum World. Wonderful to have you here. So just a friendly hello from me. Just want to introduce myself. If we haven't spoken or met yet, then I want to feel that we have some kind of connection. As you'll come to see over the next 3 weeks, that sense of connection is extremely important to me, not only in my coaching but in my everyday life. And actually part of that reason is because of what I've learned through my studies with coaching and quantum mechanics and quantum physics. So a little introduction first to what this series is all about. This is a series of 3, and I have no doubt we'll probably do some more of them later on because it's an area of interest for many of us. So Quantum World, this series is all about viewing the world through, I guess, different eyes. It's a way for us to explore the world with a different view. It's about I guess making sure that we're expanding our horizons and the horizons of our clients, and our ability to do that partly stems from our ability to expand our own thinking, and quantum is a wonderful way to do that. Okay, uncovering the world of possibility that exists at a quantum level. This is all about opening up possibility. Remember, coaches, everything we do in coaching is about opening up possibility, and once you know just a little bit about quantum, you'll understand that that's exactly what this wonderful science and magic does. This series is about discovering some amazing concepts for you to share with your clients and to use in your own lives as well. And it's about finding meaning, connection and potential in every day. This is one of my favourite things about it, that once you realise that the world operates at this level as well, it's kind of hard to see things with the same view that you did before. So this is all about learning about the hidden layers of existence and harnessing them, interpreting them, choosing what you choose to make it mean, so that you can create something different in your life and for the lives of your clients as well. Now guys, tonight's code, you need to grab a pen and write this down. Tonight's code is QPPI1. QPPI1. Just make sure you write that down with your notes that you're taking, and you'll need that for your assessments later on, okay? That's the code for this evening. So I've had a couple of people give me feedback that my voice is cutting in and out, so I'm just fast forwarding through those slides there to help you hopefully hear everything from now. So just a basic introduction to the world of quantum physics, and this is by no means an expert take on it, but the world of quantum physics is a field of science and research, and it's a genuinely new way of understanding and relating to the world. It's a field of science that's only been around since, look, around the 1950s, 60s is when the first sort of real research started to happen. And it goes some way towards reconciling the rift between science and religion that we have in our modern world. This allows non-religious people or secular people to see the mystical through the eyes of science. I don't know if you've experienced this, guys. I think in modern society we tend to find that people are all about science or all about religion, and they think the two are in opposition to each other. Now, I'm someone of faith, and I'm also someone who likes a good bit of logic and proof. So I guess I've perhaps always had a bit more of a all-encompassing view that, hey, I'm not quite sure how it all works, but I choose to take what I can from it all. And what I love about quantum physics is that it allows us to actually see both of those things on a continuum and experience the world through science and religion, um, not judging either of them, but instead seeing the continuum upon which they belong. And it definitely opens up a world of mystical possibility for people who are all about science. And please know, guys, there's no judgment here. Your belief structure is your belief structure. Mine is mine. They're all separate. They're all different. And yet, what I love about this is it allows us all to just stop judging and start believing. It shows us that at a fundamental level we're all connected to each other, the world and the universe, and that what each one of us does, says, and even thinks has an impact on the whole. Now, this is absolutely huge. This view of separateness that we have, this is a construction of modern society, and quantum physics really allows us to re-explore that idea of connectedness between all of us. And it allows us to ask the question with a fresh point of view. What is my life all about? What are my relationships with other people and the natural world all about? And how can I interact and live in a way that will benefit the entire system that I'm part of? So those feelings of, you know, you've got to be better than everyone and that competition stuff is something that in our modern society we have come to hold very valuable. And yet, once we understand a little bit about quantum, and this is really just a continuation of many of the coaching conversations we have, it really begs us to ask, well, hang on, if we're all connected, then I need to think about more than just myself and the people around me when I'm speaking, when I'm thinking, when I'm taking action. And can I just get an okay from everyone that you can hear me all right now, please? Just had a couple of comments early on, but I think that should be fine now. Just waiting for a response there, guys. Great, thank you very much. All right, so quantum mechanics and quantum physics is about the interactions of time, space, and matter at a subatomic level in the world around us, and it's also within us. Now, we'll have a look at what I mean by that in a moment. And I guess really this is your opportunity to think about why this is going to matter for you. This whole thing about we're all connected and at a subatomic microscopic level, we're actually all part of the one living organism. What does that mean and why does it matter? Well, I guess you've got three levels you can go to. Level one is that it actually doesn't. The mechanical world still exists and you still have to go to work, you've still got to drive your car, you've still got to pay the rent, nothing changes. This is just a mystical idea that you can choose to take or leave. And I'm guessing, coaches, that that's probably not the way you view the world. The fact that you're on this journey means you're probably starting to realize that that thing about connection and all of the unseen stuff in life that we've been told to ignore is actually quite important. And this is our opportunity to examine this critically and choose what it means for us. The second level is, well, actually quantum mechanics and quantum engineering is actually used already in technology and medicine in the modern world. It's used in computing, it's used in laser surgery, it's used in electronics. So we're already seeing the effects of quantum physics or the interactions of energy at a microscopic subatomic level in some of our modern technology, which is really quite extraordinary. Google it, jump online and have a look at, not now, but jump online and have a look at quantum mechanics and quantum engineering, and you'll be surprised there's actually quite a lot of fields of in technology where we already have started to harness the knowledge that quantum brings to us. So it's really quite extraordinary. And that's a very recent phenomenon. But level 3, and level 3 is really the part I'm most interested in, which is why some of perhaps my scientific knowledge is not quite there, and yet the philosophical implications are the part that I'm really interested in, and I have no doubt that that will be the same for you. The philosophical implications of what quantum physics tells us. It's all about the deconstruction of classical mechanics and the mechanistic worldview, which says that we're all separate and that human beings are really just machines, and that we have no particular life force or mysterious something within us that's driving us. What we're seeing with quantum is really the breakdown of that kind of view, and rather that we're all connected, that thoughts actually are things. They can manifest as physical things. Now, I'm not talking about your ability to make a paperclip appear in front of you with magic, but I'm talking about your ability to affect the world around you. Quantum also reinforces what we already know as coaches, that reality is subjective and that we exist as part of a highly interconnected organism. And I guess really the philosophical implication for that is that what I think affects the world, what I do affects the world, what I say affects the world, not just the people in the room with me and not just myself. It gives new meaning to everyday activities and our choice to make an ethical participation in the reality that we're part of and that we're creating. The implication for us as coaches really is you can take this as far as you want to. It's just the most enormously interesting and diverse field. But in a general sense, for us as coaches, this opens up a new worldview. It opens up ways of thinking that can become available to us, and more than anything, ways to become unstuck. And this is useful for us, guys. There's always a couple of levels when we're talking about coaching, right? There's the level that we can open up for our clients, but it's also what it does for us. So can I get some yeses here, guys, that this is making sense for you so far, that this is all good? Yep, great, we're getting some yeses, wonderful. I also just wanted to calibrate there. Okay, so let's see. I've just got a couple of questions. Yeah, Adrian, where the mirror neuron and leading and pacing starts to come into play. Adrian, I agree. I'm actually fascinated by the interplay of what we call in quantum the collapse of the wave function, which we'll talk about in a moment actually, guys, and the formation of new thought patterns. I think there's a connection there, and I'm trying to do some research and find out about it. Who knows, maybe I'll write a research paper. And Daniela's saying, can you give me some more specific examples for level 2? Daniela, thank you. The research I was doing the other day when I wrote this, now let me think. Yeah, no, I don't understand science well enough to give you the proper explanation, Daniela, but quantum physics is basically the study of energy at a subatomic level. So physical matter is made up of particles, and once we go down beyond that level of particles down to atoms and down to the subatomic level, what we actually see is a vibration of energy that can be manipulated to do certain things, and they manifest in the physical world. So it's about changing the physical properties of something by utilizing the energy that is hidden within the atoms. So Daniela, the applications I was reading about were things like laser surgery, where quantum mechanics and the application of quantum mechanics is used to make the laser more precise. So that's often used in surgery and the specific application I was talking about was eye surgery. There was also some stuff I was reading about, and I didn't quite go into it, but they were talking about in electronics that it's actually a quantum mechanical effect when your clock ticks over from one your electronic clock ticks over from one digital display to the next, so from 1 minute to the next. Don't ask me how that works, I'm not quite sure. And I didn't have time to do all the science research. But we're actually, without knowing it, when we first created this technology, we're actually harnessing quantum mechanical effects. And as science improves and increases, our ability to understand those effects increases because we can measure them at a more and more precise level. Daniela, I hope this is helpful for you, and all I can say is jump on Google, and I've also got a bunch of books I can recommend for you as well, guys, and I'll do that in the third part of this series. I'm collecting some information for you now. I certainly know who my favourite authors are, but I'm starting to build my collection as well, so I'll give you some recommendations in the third of this series. Okay, Jackie's saying words have a vibration that can be measured. Positive words have a higher frequency. Jackie, yeah, you're right. And Jackie, this also plays into some of the stuff that I practice separately from my coaching, which is a practice called heart math, and it's about measuring the vibration of emotions. And it's actually been completely proven to be true that different emotions emit different waves of energy from us. So this is all part of that kind of unseen world, that unmeasurable world that we all kind of feel is there, and yet we don't have a specific understanding of it in the general population. So I thought, as an introduction, you guys, what I would do tonight is really just share with you 3 things that I think are really cool from quantum world. So this is just my tiny little introduction to this world for you, and what this has meant to me in terms of how I think, how I recognize my emotions, and most certainly what I believe are my responsibilities to act ethically or to take care of others, etc. So let me sort of talk you through these, and I'll stop and do a check at the end of each one. So cool thing from quantum world number 1 is that multiple potential realities exist. Now, coaches, this is not necessarily a new idea for us, right? Because we know that we know from learning the NLP model of communication, we know that there are 2 million bits of information coming to us through our 5 senses at any one point in time, that the human brain can only deal with 156 of those pieces of information, and that we tend to delete, distort and generalize them into chunks, and that we can only really pay attention to between, look, the latest research is actually saying 3 to 5 or 3 to 7 chunks at any one time. So we know that, for example, on a family barbecue, through what I chose to pay attention to, where my focus was, what I was sensing, what I was deleting, distorting, generalizing, that I had one very specific experience of, I don't know, say a football game, and that someone else who was there with me, say, I don't know, my brother, he had his own perception of reality going on. He had his own deletions, distortions, generalizations. He formed his own memories and made meaning from what he experienced in that football game. 2 completely different experiences. So I might, for example, have thought that it was a bit of a rough and tumble, and I don't like football very much. And my brother might have thought, hey, that was a great game and I have fun when I play footy with my family. 2 completely different meanings. And so really you could say that that's 2 completely different realities. The reality that I'm choosing to take forward from that football game with my family at the barbecue is that football is to be avoided, it's a dangerous game, I don't like it. And the reality that my brother is taking forward is football's great fun and it's something to do together with my family that makes me feel connected to them. 2 different realities. So this is not a new concept for us, and yet I want to take it even deeper for you. In the tiny spaces found in atoms, there is space. In fact, about 80% of the content of an atom is space. Nothingness. And when you look at this nothingness at a micro level, so we're talking a subatomic level, actually what science has found over the last 50, 60 years is that it actually contains information. All around us, as well as within us, there are waves of information in the space that's found at a subatomic level. and these are called waves of potential. What do I mean by this? All right, let's do a bit of a backtrack. Remember back to your physics classes in school. We were all told at school that the world is made up of stuff. Atoms make up molecules, molecules make up particles, particles make up matter, stuff is made of matter, right? That's what we were led to believe. And on one level that's true, but actually when you take things down to a much smaller scale and look inside those tiny particles, those tiny little atoms, you'll find that atoms are actually mostly empty. And when we go down in scale to that much smaller scale, the fundamental scale of space-time geometry is called the Planck scale, P-L-A-N-C-K. And what you find when you're measuring at the Planck scale is information. There's a pattern, and it's an energy vibration. It's the energy vibrations of the universe. Most of the universe, most of hard physical matter is actually made up of nothing. It's made up of space. It's empty. Now, what quantum physics tells us is that the emptiness that's inside those atoms is actually chock full of energy, incredible amounts of energy, that if we could find a way to tap into it would instantly mean that the energy crisis would be over and we would have an unending source of infinite power available to us always. And actually there's multiple scientists and government bodies that have been trying to figure out ways to tap into this subatomic energy for a very, very long time. If you're interested in this field at all, I can recommend a couple of fascinating books for you. And what we'll see in a moment is that the energy is actually able to be influenced by our consciousness, by our thoughts. Okay, so more about that in a moment. When I said that multiple potential realities exist, what do I mean? Well, when we look at the micro quantum field of energy, what we see is energy vibration. Those vibrations give rise to atoms that make up molecules, that make up people, plants, trees, water, buildings, all the things that we call reality. And this energy vibration means that atoms don't exist in a fixed place. They actually have the potential to exist in a number of different positions. It's called superpositions. They're literally multiple different potential realities available all the time in the subatomic world, which makes up the atoms and molecules, which make up the physical world all around us. Can I get a yes that everyone's still with me? Because the comments have gone really quiet. I know this is pretty big stuff, guys. Great. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure you were still with me because I know this is kind of woo. All right. So what I want you to do now is think about pairing that with the knowledge we spoke about before, that multiple realities exist through perception, and it's only what we choose to focus on that makes up our experience of reality. What you have then is an even deeper understanding that there is no such thing as concrete, 100% inarguable reality. It just doesn't exist. Now this is the bit that really freaks me out, guys, because I'm sitting here saying this and I'm even thinking, but hang on, I've got this pen in my hand and I can see the pen in front of me and I know that it's real. But it's only through my perception, through my senses, that I am perceiving what I presume to be a pen in my hand. And I actually know that not only the pen, but my hand that is holding it is actually made up of roughly 80% energy. It's not real matter as we understand it. Isn't that freaky? I know, yeah. A couple of people have gone, whoa. Yeah, I don't think you ever actually get over the surprise of that. But basically, guys, what this really just reinforces for us is that the map is not the territory, yeah? Our perception of reality is nowhere near the actual reality. And Paul is saying it sounds like the Matrix. Paul, once you've done NLP, when you watch the Matrix, you realize that that whole movie is just about NLP, isn't it? It's just fascinating, and I love it. I love watching I love watching The Matrix now, because I'm like, oh, there's the bit where he takes the pill and chooses to see the other reality. So the reality that we perceive to be real is something that we have simply created. We've filtered, deleted, distorted, and generalized. We use selective focus, and we're made up of little particles that exist in multiple places at once that are mostly made up of space. So what is reality? I have no idea. And I guess, guys, when you start looking at this world, I think part of the journey is you sort of go, well, if nothing's real, then why does anything matter anyway? And that's the question I want to answer for you tonight, because when you think about it, what we're really saying is that you, I, and the world around us are vibrating beings of light. We are pure energy and vibration. And so when you think about that, it opens up possibilities for us to create all kinds of new realities for ourselves if we just choose to think of it that way. So let me give you some more. And what I've done with these 3 cool things from Quantum World is giving you a little snapshot of down the rabbit hole. Okay, so the cool thing from Quantum World number 2 takes that first concept even further. When we observe something, there's actually a measurable impact. So scientists who were trying to understand this ability for particles to exist in multiple places at once decided to do a few experiments and see if they could predict the physical location of particles that they forced to behave in a certain way. So they were just trying to understand the behavior of these little globs of vibrating energy, and they decided to try and predict what would happen to them, because they were still using that very mechanistic worldview where matter is matter and it behaves in predictable ways. So what they did was they shot tiny particles through a sheet of metal with 2 slits cut into it. So a big sheet of metal, like a piece of paper, but big sheet of metal with 2 slits cut into it, and they shot particles at it. And they expected that when they did this, all the particles would land in 2 straight lines on the other side of the metal sheet, because they'd been forced to go through the 2 slits and line up. So what they were trying to do was make a predictable model for how at a particular level, and I mean particular level, that matter behaves, what we call matter behaves. What they actually found was very strange. The end result was that the particles that were shot from one side of the sheet of metal through 2 slits through to the other side of the metal sheet, they didn't form 2 straight lines on the other side. They actually rippled out like they were in a pond after you throw a pebble. The particles were acting, okay, now get ready. The particles were acting as if they had gone through both slits at the same time. They were also acting as if they'd gone through neither. Equally, they were also acting as if they'd gone through one and through the other. And the mathematical possibility was spread out equally across all 4 of those. Now these particles hadn't split themselves in 2, but actually they'd gone through both slits at the same time. Now this makes no sense, right? So the scientists were very confused, and they said, well, hang on, we've got to repeat this experiment, and what we're going to do now is put a measuring device into the mix so we can observe and see exactly what's happening at what moment, because this makes no sense. We've got a skewed result. So what happened? Well, they actually put a measuring device into the mix and they repeated the experiment, and they ended up with a different result. Once they were actually observing the particles basically lined up and did exactly what they expected them to do. They only went through one slit or the other, and at the end of the experiment, the other side of the sheet of metal had 2 straight lines of particles lined up on it, on the other side. So they had behaved exactly as you would expect marbles being shot through a slit in a piece of paper, They acted exactly like you would expect that to behave. They only went through one slit, they didn't go through the other, and they lined up in a predictable line on the other side. What they discovered was that by the very act of observing and participating in the experiment, the particles suddenly started reacting to the expectations of the observers, and their strange multiple place at one time function collapsed. They chose which one reality they would become a part of and acted as if there was only one reality, these particles. Whereas when they were not being observed, they existed in a wave of potential positions. This phenomenon of collapsing choice when we observe a phenomenon is known as the collapse of the wave function. Okay, and Jamie has just said that she saw a video of that on YouTube. Yeah, Jamie, there's some wonderful stuff online for you to sort of get a visual of this. It was impossible for me to do on the PowerPoint for you tonight, but yeah, I encourage you to have a look at that because it really helps you to understand that experiment. Basically, what these scientists discovered was that the wave of potential only collapses, that all potential is available to us, but the wave of potential only collapses once we watch it. Can I get some yeses that this is making sense? Jackie's saying the particles reacted to the expectation of the observer. Yes, absolutely. Yep, and look, those kinds of experiments have been repeated again and again and again in multiple ways, and this is always the conclusion that is reached, that at a subatomic level, particles will change their behavior, the wave function will collapse, and they will choose one route or another in which to exist based on the expectations of the observer. Okay, so Adrian's saying, so if matter is mostly energy, we are then mostly energy, which is probably why the B becomes even more important. Our state, which is the overall energy and intention, is going to influence outcomes so much more. Yeah, exactly, Adrian. Guys, when you wrap your head around some of this stuff, and just some of it is enough, you will begin to see even more the magnificence of what we do as coaches and why intention is everything. This is extraordinary. Okay. Kate is saying it's a bit like people changing what they do when they're in the presence of people with expectations of them. Yeah, I agree, Kate. It's at a macro level, it's the same kind of thing. Yasmin's saying, I guess this is why we need to always believe that our clients do have the answers within them. I could not agree more, Yasmin. Absolutely. And Jackie's saying, so set up your day with intention. Jackie, you've delved into this world before, have you? That's exactly where we're going. Intention is everything. All right, so what does this mean? This means that the physical manifestation of the world as we see it at atomic and subatomic levels is really just a simplification, or it's like a one choice of all the potential realities that do exist. When we choose to give our focus and attention to something, the way in which we examine it and interact with it will collapse the multiple potential realities that exist and will actually change the properties of the object and what we experience as the reality of the object. Lexi's saying magic does exist. Lexi, I believed in magic again a long time ago when I started looking at this stuff. And actually I think this is what people really think magic is. I think in the old days when there were ideas of magic floating around and mysticism, I actually think a lot of this stuff is what was really going on. Intention, emotion, using words to get different outcomes. This is why I believe that what we do is magic. So what does this mean for us, coaches? Well, it means that simply being present and interacting with our clients, by observing them, we are affecting them at a far deeper level than we ever thought possible. And they too are affecting us. This means that when we're involved or present in a situation, it's actually impossible for us not to affect it in some way. And one piece of reading I did said this: when you are not looking, there are waves of possibility. When you are looking, there are particles of experience. When you're not looking, there are waves of possibility. When you are looking, there are particles of experience. So this gives even more importance to the choices we make. What are we choosing to participate in? What are we giving our attention to? What are we giving our focus to? This means that everything we do matters. It means that our interactions with the world, with others around us, and even people who are on the other side of the world, they're affected by everything we do. Things we say, actions we take, certainly immediately affect the instant world around us. And yet, at a micro level, we're all responsible for creating the reality that we're currently experiencing. So can I get some yeses or nos or anything from you guys just to let me know you're still there? How's this going for you? Oh, great. I've got an all clear, which is wonderful because this is pretty heavy stuff. Great. Yasmin, I knew you'd love it. I want you to read more of this. You're going to adore this. And guys, I have to say to you, as someone of a particular faith, what I just adore about this is that it doesn't close the door there at all. In fact, it just serves to strengthen that for me. So I know that there's a few people on the call who have their own particular faith as well, and I really want to encourage you that, to me, this just means even more that you can choose what you choose to believe, and it strengthens all of those things. So, cool thing from Quantum World number 3. Consciousness is real and it has an impact. So if we know that matter is made up of nothingness, right? It's about 80% nothingness, and that within that nothingness is energy that responds to our observations and expectations, then in fact matter at its core is nothing but pure consciousness. So you have to ask, well, how am I going about creating my reality? How am I shaping the world that I live in? And what new opportunities does this now open up to me? Now, there's a wonderful researcher, Dr. Dean Radin, R-A-D-I-N, who's been working in this field for a very, very long time. And he now is one of the, I think he's the lead researcher at the Institute of Noetic Science in the States, and they do all this kind of research. And he's in a lot of documentaries. He's written some great works. I'm a big fan of his work. And some of his very, very early experiments using random number generators are just a great illustration of this. Random number generators are small, quite simple machines. These first round of experiments were conducted in about the 70s, I believe, that on a continuous basis they just generate a random combination of zeros and ones. So they're basically just a very fast random coin toss machine that electronically generate zeros or ones, and they record the sequence. And they're very, very fast, and they're very, very simple. Now, through hundreds of experiments conducted over the last 50 years all over the world, the findings have consistently been the same, that if you put someone in a room with a random number generator and have them set the intention or wish or desire that the machine will produce more ones or more zeros, then there is an effect on the output of the machine. So this is just someone being asked, hey, go sit in a room with that machine and use your brainwaves to wish that it has more, that it puts out more zeros. And then someone else is put into another room with a different machine and they're told, make your machine do more ones. And measurably and consistently the results say that human intention has an effect on the output of the random number generators. And furthermore, the random number generators placed all over the world, and there's several of them in Australia, when September 11 happened, the lead researchers on the current experiments pulled together all of the data, and they showed that there was a huge spike in in the correlation between ones and zeros at the times of the impacts of the 4 aeroplanes. So there was a massive amount of worldwide attention and energy and emotion going into seeing that unfortunate thing happen on TV and all of us experiencing it at our own level. And the random number generators showed some of the biggest spikes ever in cohesiveness. And they're saying that the implication there is that our collective consciousness, all focused on one thing, produced a collective result, a collective output, a consistent output. Jamie is saying, I watched a video of that on YouTube. That was really cool. Yeah, absolutely. The random number generators experiments. Yeah, they're fascinating, Jamie. There's a lot of different types as well. Enrico is saying this has been one of the biggest problems with the remote viewing research. Enrico, remote viewing, how wonderful. Have you watched Men Who Stare at Goats? That was Men Who Stare at Goats, that George Clooney movie. Guys, that's actually a true story based on experiments that were done, and you can read about them in a couple of the books that I'll recommend for you at the end of this series. Enrico's practicing his his remote viewing. Awesome. Let me know how that's going. Adrian's saying, if we're talking about consciousness, how would our unconscious affect us at a quantum level? Yeah, Adrian, that's a looping kind of question. Can you rewrite that question for me? Let me have a think about that one. I might need to do some remote viewing. All right, so think about the implications even just on the random number generator stuff that we just spoke about. When we think about the energy that vibrates in the quantum field all around us, that connects us all and is a large part of every object in the universe, we can actually see in measurable ways how human intention can affect and influence that energy. In another set of famous experiments, it was seen that experts in controlled consciousness, and these guys were actually monks who practiced sustained and intentional meditation and who were experts at it, they were given an instruction to raise the pH of a glass of water in a room by a full pH point. And through their meditative processes and through having that intention, they were actually able to do that. And when you consider that humans are 80% water, raising pH or dropping pH by 1 pH point is enough to kill someone. So think about the implications there. Certainly the monks didn't go around killing people, but it's a very interesting thought, isn't it, when we tap into the power that is there and we harness it like those people who are very practiced at reaching that sort of meditative state and tapping into the power of their unconscious. What could we affect in the world? All right, so I'm going to pause there and just ask if there's any questions or anything we want to talk about right now before we start looking at what this really means for us as coaches. And I'm getting nothing, so I'm going to assume that we're all good to continue. And of course, guys, if there's any questions, you just let me know, okay? So the question really is, are human beings affecting the reality that we see all around us? Are we designing the life that we have, the reality we experience, and even the physical world? The answer is yes. We're all creating our reality on a moment-to-moment basis, whether we're aware of it or not. Now, guys, this is not a new thing for us. You know this, right? Through our perception, through what we're choosing to delete, distort, and generalize, through all kinds of ways that we use our focus, we are choosing to create our own reality. But this is also true at the subatomic level. The implications here are far-reaching for ourselves and our clients. First of all, there is far, far more to the world than just what we see in front of us. And this is something that people with spiritual awareness already know. But for those who are more firmly planted in the scientific world, this now we can say to them unequivocally, this is true in science as well. The world of quantum physics tells us that we are all connected. We're all one. And the power of our thoughts, words, and actions can deeply affect others. And this also tells us that reality is simply a choice. And if we want a reality that's different from our current one, we can make a different choice and shift our focus, shift our intention, and shift our experience. The power of intention and focus is incredibly underrated, not just for the achievement of goals, but in terms of creating a laser beam of focus and energy and directing it in our desired direction. And this too has direct application for our clients in opening up possibility and choice about how to go about creating change. And it also means that how we choose to think can affect our outcomes. So I want to pause here and really think about what that means for your coaching practice. Am I saying you need to hold quantum physics classes for your clients? Absolutely not. I don't think that's necessary. You need to do the amount of research, or no, wait, you don't need to. You have the opportunity to do the amount of research that's comfortable for you in this field, which gives you a couple of nice little packages in which to share, I guess, stories of connection and possibility and opening, and the fact that we have responsibility for our lives. And these are lovely little ways that you can just present the ideas, so many of the ideas that are dear to us in coaching about possibility and choice and responsibility to your clients in, I guess, just a different way. I don't always talk about this stuff with clients. In fact, I'd say probably only about 20 to 30% of the time do I even talk about this at all. And I certainly don't ever go, hey, let's talk about quantum physics. I just share a simple idea with them. But my intention in doing that is sharing a world of possibility with them. And more than that, guys, think about what this means for how you set your intention before you go into a session with a client. And think about what this means for how you set your intention at the start of every day. Sometimes in our classes I ask everyone to set their intention for the class. Why do you think I'm doing that? There's a reason. It's not just some hippie trippy stuff. I believe we are together as a community right now, even though some of you are in all kinds of places all over Australia. I love that simply by focusing and having intention to be together here, that we already are. So I want to ask you what the implications are for you in your coaching practice. How is this going to serve you? How is this going to be helpful for you? What parts of this are you going to choose to look into, and what parts are not interesting to you? I would love to get your feedback about any little sound bites that might be useful for you when you're talking with your clients about this stuff. And I also want to hear from you about how it's going to help you achieve your goals. What has this information meant to you this evening? I'd love to hear back from you. And while I'm waiting for everyone to type in, I'm just going to read what Adrian's saying. Adrian's raising the question that if consciousness intention is powerful, I guess our unconscious mind, which is so much more powerful within us, has a greater impact on the world too. However, we probably only experience our unconscious through our conscious awareness. Yeah, I agree, Adrian. I think I don't believe that what goes on in the unconscious is a mystery. I don't believe that at all. I actually think that we can influence that simply through our intention. So I know that we're not consciously aware of what's going on in our unconscious, but also this is a process of learning to focus and use processes like, I don't know, meditation or relaxation or prayer or whatever it is for you to focus intention and possibility for a certain outcome. And that allows us to tap into the power, a little bit of that power that's in our unconscious. So, Adrian, I think, it's all kind of a big mystery, but I think simply by knowing this stuff and directing our conscious attention towards it, we're already affecting our ability to use it, right? Okay, Enrico. Infinite possibilities. Lexi says anything is possible. Kate says setting the intention to make an impact is the bit that is hitting home the most. Kate, there's a wonderful speaker who I cannot for the life of me remember his name, who talks about this stuff. And Adrian, you went to see him last year in Melbourne. What is his name? He is in What the Bleep. What is that guy's name? And we're going to share that information with Kate. Jamie has to go. Oh, okay. Jamie's saying, cool. Yes, Adrian, thank you. It's Dr. Joe Dispenza, Kate. Dispenza. I think it is. He talks a lot about the power of setting your intention, and he talks a lot about the crossover between the quantum world and neurology, which is fascinating. So he would be a wonderful person to look up and Google some of his stuff, even have a look on YouTube. Enrico is saying there are no limits in what we can achieve when we're able to understand that we are sparkles of God. Enrico, what a beautiful way to say it. We're sparkles of God. That's lovely. Beata, our intentions are very important and we need to have the best intention towards everything in our life. Yeah. Tendai, I can access all the impossible. Yeah, I love it, Tendai. Jade is saying, I've been touching on this and using it already in my training and life. However, tonight there's been a greater insight and better way of explaining this for a scientific-minded individual. Thank you, Jade. I'm glad. Yasmin saying, set clear and focused intentions and trust that it's taken care of, even when it doesn't appear that way. Yeah, Yasmin. And, you know, guys, like this is not a religious thing, but don't you think that's sort of faith? Having faith in something is just setting intention and then trusting it's going to be okay or it's going to work out. Kate is saying, I also find this interesting as I've proven myself to myself that illness, etc., can't stop you. I've always said I can, and then I can. I've had a brain tumour for 15 years and it's never been an issue. Kate, you're amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. That's extraordinary. And actually, it reminds me of today I was having a break at lunchtime and I happened to switch on Ellen, and Michael J. Fox was on and he was talking about his battle with Parkinson's, and same kind of attitude there as Kate has said. So, you know, believing that his Parkinson's is not an illness, that it's just something that it has blessed him to live a life different to other people, and he's an unstoppable force. He's done amazing work. He's raised close to $500 million for Parkinson's research, and he's an amazing individual. So, Kate, I take my hat off to you because that was a very strong memory for me. Your story there reminded me of what I just saw on telly. So how's that for quantum? Enrico is saying faith is also belief that anything is possible. Yeah, I agree, Enrico. Yasmin is saying, Kate, you are magnificent. And Kate is saying, Michael J. Fox rocks. He's one of my inspirations. Yes, I agree. Me too, Kate. Okay. So guys, if there are any questions or anything you'd like to speak about, now would be a wonderful time to do that. It doesn't have to be quantum stuff. We can also just do some general coaching chat if you wish, especially for anyone who's new to the class or new to the school. I'd love to hear from you about how things are going, answer any questions for you. And right now what I'm going to do is say thank you so much for your attention and your intention this evening. It's been magnificent having your company. And I love talking to you about this stuff, so I'm going to stop recording and just hang out for another 5 minutes so that we can keep connecting. The next couple of classes on this ride, next week we're going to talk about the connections between us all at an even deeper level, and the week after that we're going to talk about quantum healing. Okay, thanks guys. I'm going to stop recording and